Jake Martinez looked out the window of his shuttle as it moved toward the giant space station. Kepler-7 was huge, bigger than any city he had ever seen. The station spun slowly in the darkness of space, its lights twinkling like stars. This was supposed to be neutral ground, a place where humans and aliens could talk without fighting. Jake was nervous. He had been a diplomat for 20 years, but this meeting was different. The Vaxarian Empire had agreed to peace talks for the first time in decades. If things went well, maybe the Cold War between humans and the Empire would finally end. If things went badly, there might be real war. The shuttle docked with a soft bump. Jake picked up his briefcase and walked to the airlock. His assistant, a young woman named Kelly, followed behind him. She looked scared. "Remember," Jake told her, "we are here to make peace. No matter what they say, we stay calm." The airlock opened. Two tall aliens stood waiting for them. They were Vaxarians, with gray skin and long faces. Their eyes were black and cold. They wore dark uniforms with sharp edges. Everything about them looked dangerous. "I am Ambassador Jake Martinez." Jake sighed, holding out his hand. "Thank you for meeting with us." The taller alien looked at Jake's hand, but did not shake it. "I am Commander Vextar. You will follow me." Jake put his hand down. The aliens turned and walked away. Jake and Kelly followed them through long hallways. The station was very clean and very quiet. Other aliens stopped to stare at the humans. As they passed, none of them looked friendly. They came to a big room with a long table. Several Vaxarians were already sitting there. At the head of the table sat the most important one. He was bigger than the others, with scars on his face and metal pieces in his skin. This was High Commander Zelthuk, the leader of the Vaxarian. "Military. Humans," Zelthuk said. His voice was deep and rough. "You dare to come here and demand things from us." Jake sat down across from him. "We are not demanding anything. We want to talk about peace." Zelthuk laughed. It was not a nice sound. "Peace? Your people spread through our galaxy like a disease. You take planets that belong to us. You build ships where you should not be. And now you want peace?" "The galaxy is big enough for everyone," Jake said. "Humans have only been in space for a few hundred years. We do not want to fight." "You are weak," another Vaxarian said. "Your ships are small. Your weapons are simple. You live short lives and learn nothing." Jake felt angry, but he kept his voice calm. "Maybe we are different from you, but we are not weak." For 3 days, the talks went on. The Vaxarians said terrible things about humans. They called them animals and insects. They said humans had no right to exist in space. Jake listened too. It all and tried to find ways to make peace. On the 4th day, something changed. Zelthuk seemed more interested in talking. He asked questions about human colonies and human ships. Jake thought maybe they were making progress. That night, there was a big dinner for both sides. The food was strange, but Jake ate it and smiled. He talked with several Vaxarian officers. Some of them seemed less hostile than before. Maybe there was hope after all. Jake was talking to Commander Vextar when he saw something move behind him. A Vaxarian in a black uniform was walking toward their table. The alien's hand was moving toward something on his belt. "Look out!" Kelly screamed. Jake turned around. The alien in black had pulled out a plasma weapon. It was small but deadly. The alien pointed it right at Jake's chest. "For the glory of the Empire." The assassin shouted. The weapon fired. A bright beam of energy hit Jake in the heart. He fell backward, his body burning from the inside. Kelly screamed and ran toward him, but it was too late. Jake Martinez was dead. The assassin dropped his weapon and stood there, waiting. Vaxarian. Guards came running. but they moved slowly. They did not seem surprised. When they reached the assassin, they did not arrest him. They just led him away quietly. Commander Vextar looked down at Jake's body. "How unfortunate," he said, but he did not sound sad. He sounded satisfied. Kelly knelt next to Jake, crying. Blood was coming from her mouth, where she had bitten her tongue. She looked up at the Vaxarians around the table. They were all watching her, but none of them helped. "You planned this," she whispered. "You planned to kill him." Zelthik stood up slowly. "Accidents happen," he said. "Perhaps humans should be more careful when they visit dangerous places." Security cameras had recorded everything. Within hours, the video was being sent to every human world. People watched their ambassador die, while aliens stood by and did nothing. They saw the assassin walk free. They saw Zelthik smile. President. Amy Carter was in her office when the news reached Earth. She watched the video 3 times without saying a word. Her advisors waited quietly. They had never seen her so angry. Finally, she stood up and walked to the window. Earth looked peaceful from space, but Carter knew that was about to change. "Get me the Joint Chiefs," she said, "and call an emergency. Session of Congress. What should we tell them?" Her aide asked. Carter turned around. Her eyes were cold as ice. "Tell them that Jake Martinez was the last human who will ever die for trying to make peace with the Empire. From now on, we speak a different language." Within 6 hours, President Carter stood before Congress. The chamber was packed. Everyone knew what was coming. "My fellow Americans," she began, "and citizens of all human worlds. Today, Ambassador Jake Martinez was murdered while trying to make peace. He was shot down like an animal while his killers watched and smiled." The chamber was completely silent. "The Vaxirian Empire thinks we are weak," Carter continued. "They think we will accept this murder and do nothing. They think humans are cowards who will run when threatened." She paused and looked directly into the camera. "They are wrong." Her next words would be remembered forever. "As of this moment, the Terran Federation declares war on the Vaxarian Empire. We will not stop fighting until every human death is answered. We will not stop until the Empire learns what happens when you kill our people." The war had begun. News of the war spread across the galaxy in days. On every world, aliens gathered around their communication devices to hear the latest reports. Most of them were excited. Finally, they would see the proud humans get what they deserved. The Vaxarian Empire had ruled this part of the galaxy for over 3,000 years. Their ships were massive and powerful. Their weapons could destroy entire planets. Their warriors had conquered hundreds of worlds. No one had ever defeated them in a real war. Humans, on the other hand, had only been in space for a few centuries. Their ships were small and simple. Their colonies were new and weak. Most aliens thought the war would be over in weeks. High Commander Zelthak stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Sword. The ship was 5 miles long and carried enough weapons to level a continent. Around him, dozens of other massive warships prepared for battle. "How many human ships do our spies report?" he asked his aide. "Maybe 800, Commander. Most of them are cargo ships or small patrol boats. They have perhaps 50 real warships." Zelthik smiled. "And we have over 3,000 war vessels. This will not be a battle. It will be an execution." But far away, in a secret meeting room on Mars, human leaders were not worried. Admiral Roy Jensen sat at a table with the most important military officers from every human world. On the wall behind him was a star map covered in red dots. "Gentlemen," Jensen said, "it is time to show them what we have been building." For 15 years, humanity had been preparing for this war. It was called Project Overlord, and it was the biggest secret in human history. While the Empire thought humans had only a few hundred ships, the truth was very different. How many vessels do we actually have? Asked General Susan Clark from the Luna Defense Force. Jensen pressed a button. The star map changed. Now it showed thousands of green dots spread across human space. As of today, we have 4,200 active warships. Another 1,000 will be ready within the month. The room went silent. Even these high-ranking officers had not known the full scope of the project. Hidden shipyards in asteroid belts, Jensen continued. Underground factories on mining worlds. Civilian ships that can transform into warships at the touch of a button. We have been preparing for this war since the day we first met the Empire. Captain Ben Taylor commanded one of these secret ships. His vessel, the Lightning Strike, looked like a normal cargo hauler from the outside, but hidden inside were weapons. An armor that could match any alien warship. Ben's ship was part of the new destroyer class. These ships were not big like Vaxarian vessels. Instead, they were fast and smart. They could work together like a pack of wolves hunting a bear. All ships, this is Admiral Jensen, came the voice over the radio. Operation Thunderbolt is now active. Proceed to your target zones. Ben's ship was heading for the Centauri Gate, an important space route that the Empire used to move supplies. Intelligence reports said a Vaxarian fleet would be passing through soon. How many enemy ships? Asked his second-in-command, Lieutenant Kate Morrison. 50 big ones, Ben replied. Typical Imperial battle group. Kate looked worried. 50 against how many of us? Ben smiled. 312. Kate's eyes went wide. She had never seen that many human ships in one place. The Empire thinks big ships win wars, Ben explained. We are going to teach them that numbers and tactics matter more than size. The Vaxarian fleet arrived at Centauri Gate right on schedule. Commander Thexval was in charge of the convoy. His ships were enormous, each one bristling with weapons. He was not worried about human attacks. What could a few small ships do against his mighty fleet? Sir, his sensor officer reported, we are detecting multiple contacts. How many? Thexval asked. The officer looked confused. I count ... 300 ships, sir. Maybe more. Thexval laughed. Impossible. Humans do not have that many ships in their entire fleet. But when he looked at his screen, he saw the truth. Hundreds of human vessels were moving toward his fleet from all directions. They were small and fast, darting around like angry insects. All ships, battle formation, Thexval ordered. Show these humans the power of the Empire. The Vaxarian ships moved into a defensive circle. Their big guns swiveled toward the approaching human fleet. Each shot from their main weapons could destroy a human ship completely, but the humans did not attack the way Thexval expected. Instead of charging straight at the big ships, they spread out and came from every angle. They moved in small groups, 5 or 6 ships working together. When the Vaxarians fired their big guns, the humans were already somewhere else. The massive energy beams hit empty space while the human ships danced around them like gnats around. A giant ... Lieutenant Kate Morrison was piloting a fighter craft launched from Ben's ship. Her job was to get close to the enemy vessels and target their weak points. Her ship was so small that the big alien guns could barely track her. This is Falcon Squadron, she called on the radio. Beginning attack run on Target 7. Kate's fighter group swooped down on a Vaxarian cruiser. While the big ship tried to hit them with its main weapons, the fighters attacked the smaller gun turrets and sensor arrays. Soon the huge ship was blind and defenseless. Then the human destroyers moved in. Working together, they focused all their fire on one spot on the alien ship's hull. The concentrated attack punched through the armor and destroyed the vessels. Main reactor. The massive ship exploded in a ball of fire. Target 7 is down, Kate reported, moving to Target 8. All across the battle zone, the same thing was happening. Human ships worked in teams to overwhelm individual Vaxarian vessels. The aliens' size advantage meant nothing when they could not hit their attackers. Commander Dexval watched in horror as his mighty fleet was torn apart. His ships were bigger and more powerful, but they were too slow to fight the swarming humans. One by one, his vessels were destroyed. Send a distress signal, he ordered. Tell High Command that the humans have more ships than we thought. But it was too late. His communication array was destroyed by another fighter attack. Within 2 hours, all 50 Vaxarian ships were gone. Not a single human vessel was lost. The news reached the Empire within days. High Commander Zelthuk could not believe the reports. 50 ships destroyed by a few hundred human vessels? It was impossible, but the evidence was there. Wreckage from his fleet floating in space. No survivors. No distress calls after the first few minutes. The humans had won a complete victory. Across the galaxy, other alien races heard the news and were shocked. The mighty Vaxarian Empire had lost its first real battle in centuries. Maybe the humans were not as weak as everyone thought. On Earth, President Carter addressed the nation again. This time, she was smiling. "Citizens of the Federation," she said, "our forces have won their first victory against the Empire. But this is only the beginning. We will show the galaxy that humanity will never bow to tyrants." The war was just starting, but already everything had changed. The Empire now knew they were not fighting a few primitive colonies. They were fighting a prepared and determined enemy that had been waiting for this moment for years. Admiral Jensen looked at the reports from Centauri Gate and nodded with satisfaction. Phase 1 was complete. Now it was time to show the Empire what humans could really do when they stopped pretending to be weak. High Commander Zelthuk was furious. The loss at Centauri Gate was bad enough, but the reports from his spies made it worse. Humans had ships and weapons hidden everywhere. They had been lying about their strength for years. Gather every fleet. He ordered his generals. Call back ships from the outer territories. I want 5,000 vessels ready for battle within 1 month. Sir, one general asked, should we not try to negotiate? Perhaps we underestimated them. Zelthak's eyes burned with anger. Never. No primitive species will defeat the Empire. We will crush them completely. When we are done, humans will be extinct. The Imperial fleet began moving toward human space. It was the largest military force ever assembled in the galaxy. Ship after ship, each one a floating fortress capable of destroying entire worlds. Zelthak himself led them in his flagship, determined to wipe out humanity forever. But on Earth, human leaders were not afraid. General Paul Wright sat in his office, looking at intelligence reports from across the galaxy. He was in charge of special operations, the secret branch of the military that did things other people never heard about. How are our people doing? Behind enemy lines? He asked his aide. Better than expected, sir. The Empire never learned to fight the kind of war we are bringing to them. Humans had spent centuries fighting each other on Earth. They had learned every dirty trick, every clever strategy, every way to win when the enemy was bigger and stronger. Now they were using all of that knowledge against the Empire. Commander Alex Johnson was deep in Vaxarian space, leading a team of Special Forces soldiers. Their job was to attack supply convoys and communication stations. They did not fight big battles. Instead, they struck fast and disappeared before the enemy could respond. Target confirmed, whispered Sergeant Mike Torres. Imperial Supply Depot. Lightly guarded. Alex looked through his binoculars at the alien base. It was built on a small moon, surrounded by defensive turrets. Inside were fuel and ammunition for the Imperial fleet. If they could destroy it, hundreds of enemy ships would be stranded without supplies. "Remember, we are not here to fight," Alex told his team. "We are here to break things and leave." The human soldiers moved like ghosts through the darkness. They had studied Vaxirian technology for years and knew its weaknesses. The defensive sensors were powerful, but could not detect humans using stealth technology developed from captured alien equipment. Lisa Park, the team's technical expert, found the main computer terminal. Her fingers moved quickly over the alien. Controls. She had learned their language and their systems better than most Vaxarians knew them. "Security disabled," she whispered. "Uploading virus now." The virus was a human creation, designed to turn the Empire's own technology against them. Within minutes, the base's defense turrets would start firing at each other. The fuel storage would overheat and explode. The communications array would broadcast human propaganda instead of Imperial messages. "Time to go," Alex said. The team slipped away as quietly as they had arrived. Behind them, the base began to tear itself apart. Explosions lit up the dark sky as millions of tons of Imperial supplies went up in flames. By the time Vaxarian reinforcements arrived, there was nothing left but wreckage. Meanwhile, Dr. Susan Lee was working in a secret laboratory on Mars. She was humanity's leading expert on alien technology. For years, she had been studying captured Vaxarian equipment, looking for ways to improve human weapons and defenses. "The problem with Imperial technology," she explained to her assistant, "is that it never changes. They have been using the same designs for thousands of years. They think old means reliable." "And we think old means predictable?" her assistant asked. "Exactly. When you know exactly how something works, you can find ways to break it." Susan's team had discovered that Vaxirian shields had a specific frequency that made them vulnerable to certain types of weapons. Imperial armor was strong, but had weak points that could be exploited. Even their massive ships had design flaws that humans could use against them. "Send this data to all fleet commanders," Susan ordered. "Make sure every ship captain knows where to aim." The real test came at the siege of Drakmor, the most important Imperial fortress world. The planet was covered with military bases and defensive installations. A direct attack would cost thousands of human lives, but humans did not attack directly. Instead, Captain Maria Santos led a different kind of assault. Her ships surrounded the planet, but did not fire a single shot. Instead, they cut off all supply routes and began broadcasting messages to the planet below. "People of Drakmor," Maria's voice said, "you have been lied to by your leaders. The Empire tells you that humans are monsters who want to destroy you. But we are here to free you from tyranny." The broadcasts included video footage of the assassination of Jake Martinez. They showed how Imperial leaders had planned the murder and then smiled while an innocent man died. They revealed evidence of other Imperial crimes, massacres and genocides that had been hidden for centuries. At the same time, human hackers were breaking into the planet's communication networks. They replaced Imperial propaganda with the truth about the war. Soon, people all over Drakmor were learning things their government had never wanted them to know. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Dan Cooper from the communication station, "we are receiving messages from the planet. Some of the local commanders want to surrender." Maria smiled. "Patch me through to the Planetary Defense Center." The commander of Drakmor's defenses was a Vaxirian named General Kekstar. He had been a loyal Imperial officer for 40 years. But now he was watching his own government's lies fall apart before his eyes. "What do you want?" he asked when Maria's image appeared on his screen. "We want you to stop fighting for people who see you as expendable," Maria replied. "Your leaders sent you here to die for them while they sit safely in their palaces. Is that really worth your life?" Kekstar was quiet for a long moment. Around him, his officers waited to see what he would do. Some of them were nodding, agreeing with the human captain's words. "If we surrender," Kekstar finally said, "what happens to us?" "You go home to your families," Maria answered. "This war is not with you. It is with the Empire that treats you like slaves." Within hours, the planetary defense grid shut down. Vaxarian soldiers laid down their weapons. The strongest fortress world in the Empire surrendered without a single shot being fired. But the biggest shock came when the humans took control of the planet's orbital defense platforms. Instead of destroying them, they turned the massive weapons around. When the Imperial fleet arrived to retake Drakmor, they found their own planet's guns pointed at them. Admiral Nexthul commanded the Imperial Relief Force. He had brought 200 ships to retake the planet. But now he was facing the most powerful defensive network in the Empire, controlled by humans who knew exactly how to use it. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the defense platforms are locking onto our ships." "Impossible," Nexthul said. "Those platforms are ours. They cannot fire on Imperial vessels." But the humans had reprogrammed the platform's targeting computers. To the weapons, the Imperial ships now looked like enemy vessels. When Nexthul's fleet moved closer to the planet, the defense grid opened fire. The massive energy beams that were supposed to protect Drakmor instead tore through the Imperial fleet. Ships that had seemed invincible were destroyed by their own weapons. Within an hour, the entire relief force was gone. News of Drakmor's fall spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Empire's strongest world had been taken without a battle. Their own weapons had been turned against them. Suddenly, every Imperial commander was wondering if their own defenses could be trusted. High Commander Zelthak received the news while his massive fleet was still moving toward human space. He had started the journey with 5,000 ships. Now, thanks to supply shortages and defections, he had less than 4,000. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "We have better technology. We have more ships. We have been warriors for millennia." His aide, a young officer named Sub-Commander Veltuk, spoke carefully. "Perhaps, sir, we have been fighting the wrong kind of war. The humans do not fight like we do." Zelthak turned on him angrily. "Are you saying we should copy these primitives?" "I am saying, sir, that maybe they are not as primitive as we thought." But Zelthak would not listen. He was too proud and too angry to admit that humans might be better at war than the Empire. He ordered his fleet to continue toward Earth, determined to end the war with one final massive battle. He did not know that humans were already preparing for him. Admiral Roy Jensen had been tracking the Imperial fleet since it left Vaxarian space. He knew exactly where they were going and when they would arrive. "Let them come," Jensen told his staff. "It is time to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten Earth." The final battle was about to begin, and humanity was ready. The galaxy watched in amazement as human forces pushed deeper into Imperial space. What had started as a simple war of revenge was becoming something much bigger. Humans were not just fighting the Empire. They were freeing every world that the Empire had conquered. Colonel Sam Price stood on the bridge of his assault ship as it approached the slave world of Kethra-9. Below them was a planet where millions of aliens worked in terrible conditions, mining rare metals for Imperial weapons. The Empire had ruled here for 800 years. "Sir," reported his communications officer, "we are receiving signals from the planet. The workers are asking if we are really here to free them." Sam smiled. "Tell them yes, and tell them to stay away from the guard towers. We will handle those." The liberation of slave worlds was not like normal military operations. Humans could not just bomb the Imperial bases because innocent people might be hurt. Instead, they used precise strikes and special tactics to remove the oppressors without harming the oppressed. Captain Linda Hayes led a team of medics and engineers to the planet's surface. While Sam's soldiers dealt with the Imperial Guards, Linda's people set up field hospitals and began treating workers who had been sick for years without proper medical care. "How long have you been here?" Linda asked an alien worker who looked like a giant insect. "My whole life," the worker replied through a translation device. "My parents' whole lives. My children were born here too. We never thought anyone would come to help us." Linda patted the creature's arm gently. "You are free. Now, no one will ever force you to work again." Word of these liberations spread quickly. On world after world, enslaved populations began to rebel against their imperial masters. They knew that humans were coming to help them. The Empire's control over its territory began to collapse, but the Empire was not giving up without a fight. As their influence weakened, imperial commanders became more desperate and more cruel. If they could not keep their slaves, they would make sure no one else could have them either. On the world of Sigma 7, imperial forces received orders that shocked even their hardened soldiers. General Yexenol read the message from High Command and could not believe what he was seeing. Destroy the entire planet? He asked his aide, "But there are 20 million people down there." "The orders are clear, sir. If we cannot hold the world, we must make sure the humans cannot use it." This was the Empire's new strategy. Rather than lose worlds to human liberation, they would destroy them completely. It was genocide on a scale that the galaxy had never seen, but humans had been monitoring Imperial communications. They knew about the destruction orders before most Imperial commanders did. Admiral Helen Clark was in charge of stopping these atrocities. "We cannot be everywhere at once," she told her staff, "but we can be smart about where we go first." Helen had studied the Imperial command structure for years. She knew which worlds were most likely to be destroyed and which commanders might refuse such terrible orders. Her forces moved quickly to protect the most vulnerable populations. The race to save Sigma 7 became a test of human determination. Captain Joe Martinez, no relation to the murdered ambassador, led a fast attack group toward the doomed world. They had less than 6 hours before the Imperial fleet would arrive with planet-destroying weapons. "All ships, maximum speed," Joe ordered. "We are not going to let 20 million people die, because we were too slow." His ships pushed their engines beyond safe limits. Human technology might not be as advanced as Imperial equipment, but it was more flexible. Human engineers had designed their vessels to be modified and improved in ways that alien ships could not match. They reached Sigma 7 just as the Imperial destruction fleet dropped out of hyperspace. General Yexenol was commanding 12 massive ships, each one carrying enough firepower to crack a planet's crust. "Imperial ships," Joe broadcast on all frequencies, "you are ordered to withdraw immediately. Any attack on civilian populations will be considered a war crime." Yexenol laughed when he heard the message. "Humans think they can threaten us? I have 12 dreadnoughts. They have ... how many ships?" His sensor officer checked the readings. "Sir, I count 47 human vessels, all of them much smaller than ours." "Then this will be easy," Yexenol said. "All ships, prepare to bombard the planet. Ignore the human ships." But Joe Martinez had not come here to fight a normal space battle. His mission was to protect civilians, and he would use any tactic necessary to do that job. "All ships, scatter formation," he ordered. "Begin rescue operations immediately." Instead of engaging the Imperial fleet directly, the human ships split up and flew toward the planet. Dozens of transport vessels launched from the larger ships, racing to reach the surface before the bombardment began. Lieutenant Corinne Bell was piloting one of these transports. Her job was to evacuate as many people as possible in the shortest time. Her ship could carry 3,000 passengers if they packed them in tight. "Landing zone secured," reported the ground team. "Begin boarding immediately." Corinne's ship touched, down in the middle of a crowded city. Alien civilians ran toward the transport, carrying children and a few precious belongings. Many of them were crying. They knew what was about to happen to their world. "Move quickly, but do not panic," Corinne told them through her ship's speakers. "We will get everyone out." Above them, the Imperial fleet was moving into bombardment position. General Yexenol was growing impatient with the human rescue operation. "Why are we waiting?" he demanded. "Fire on the planet now." "Sir," his weapons officer said nervously, "there are human ships in the way. If we fire now, we will hit them too." "Good. Kill the humans and the civilians at the same time." But when Yexenol gave the order to fire, something unexpected happened. Several of his own ships did not shoot. Their captains had been listening to the human broadcasts and watching the rescue operation. They could not bring themselves to murder millions of innocent people. "Captain Zexamore is not responding to orders," reported the communications officer. "Neither is Captain Texival." Yexenol was furious. "Are my own officers refusing to obey me?" The answer was yes. Across the Imperial fleet, commanders were deciding that they would not be part of genocide. Some of them even turned their weapons toward the ships that were still planning to attack the planet. The Imperial fleet began fighting itself. While Yexenol-as loyal ships tried to bombard Sigma-7, the rebel ships defended the human rescue operation. In the confusion, Joe Martinez's forces were able to evacuate most of the planet's population. By the end of the day, 18 million people had been saved. The planet itself was badly damaged, but the vast majority of its people were alive and free. More importantly, the galaxy had seen Imperial commanders refuse to commit genocide. News of Sigma-7 spread quickly. On other Imperial worlds, military officers began to question their orders. Some of them switched sides completely, bringing their ships and crews over to the human cause. High Commander Zelthak was losing control of his own military. Every day, more ships defected to the humans. Every day, more worlds declared independence from the Empire. His great fleet was still moving toward Earth, but now he was not sure how many of his commanders would actually fight when the time came. "How many ships do we still control?" he asked his intelligence chief. "Perhaps 3,000, sir. Maybe less." Zelthak slammed his fist on the table. "We started with 5,000. Where did they all go?" "Dead, captured, or defected, sir. The humans are very good at convincing our people to join them." Admiral Helen Clark was coordinating the final phase of the human campaign. Her strategy was brilliant in its simplicity. Instead of fighting one massive battle, human forces were attacking everywhere at once. "The Empire cannot defend all of their worlds at the same time," she explained to her staff. "If we hit them everywhere, they will have to choose what to protect. Everything else falls to us." Human fleets struck at dozens of Imperial worlds simultaneously. Each attack was small and fast, designed to overwhelm local defenses before reinforcements could arrive. Within weeks, the Empire lost control of half their territory, but the most important battle was still to come. Zelthak's fleet was approaching Earth, determined to end the war by destroying humanity's home world. He still had enough ships to crack Earth's crust and kill everyone on the planet. Admiral Roy Jensen stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the enemy fleet approach. Around him, thousands of human ships prepared for the final battle. This would decide the fate of both species. "All ships, this is Admiral Jensen," he broadcast. "I came here to destroy our home and our families. Today, we show them what humans do to anyone who threatens Earth." The largest space battle in galactic history was about to begin. The Empire's survival depended on reaching and destroying Earth. Humanity's survival depended on stopping them. In the distance, Zelthak's massive flagship led the Imperial fleet toward Earth. The High Commander was confident that his remaining ships could win this final battle. After all, he still had more vessels than the humans. What he did not know was that Admiral Jensen had been preparing for this moment since the war began. Hidden throughout the solar system were weapons and defenses that the Empire had never seen before. Earth would not fall easily. The final battle was about to teach Zelthak the most important lesson about humans. They were always... High Commander Zelthak stood on the bridge of his flagship as Earth grew larger on the main screen. The blue and green planet looked peaceful and defenseless. Soon it would be nothing but burning rock floating in space. "Final count, sir," reported his fleet commander. 2,800 ships ready for battle. Zelthak nodded. It was fewer ships than he had hoped, but still enough to destroy one human world. After Earth won, the rest of humanity would surrender or die. "Begin the attack," he ordered. "I want every human on that planet dead within the hour." The Imperial fleet moved forward in a massive formation. Their ships were still bigger and more powerful than anything humanity had ever built. Zelthak was confident that this would be an easy victory, but as his fleet approached Earth, something strange happened. The space around the planet began to shimmer and glow. Suddenly, thousands of human ships appeared out of nowhere. Where did they come from? Zelthak demanded. His sensor officer was frantically checking his instruments. "Sir, they were hidden behind stealth fields. I count 4,000 human vessels, maybe more." Admiral Roy Jensen's voice came over the radio, broadcast to every ship in both fleets. "High Commander Zelthak, you are trespassing in the Sol system. Leave now or be destroyed." Zelthak laughed. "You think you can threaten me? I am the Supreme Commander of the Imperial Fleet." "You were," Jensen replied calmly. "Now you are just another war criminal." The battle began when Zelthak ordered his ships to open fire on Earth, but the Imperial weapons never reached the planet. Hidden defense platforms throughout the solar system activated, creating energy shields that absorbed the attack. Captain Nick Adams was commanding one of the newest human ships, the Solar Wind. His vessel was designed specifically for this battle, with weapons that could punch through Imperial armor and shields that could withstand their heaviest guns. "All ships, attack Pattern Omega," Admiral Jensen ordered. "Show them what Earth's children can do." The human fleet swarmed around the Imperial ships like angry bees. They moved in perfect coordination, each group of ships working together to destroy specific targets. The Empire's size advantage meant nothing when they could not hit their fast-moving enemies. Zelthak watched in horror as his mighty fleet was torn apart. His ships were exploding one by one, their massive hulls cracking under concentrated human fire. This was not how the battle was supposed to go. "All ships retreat," he finally ordered. "We will regroup and attack again." But it was too late. Human ships had surrounded his fleet. There was nowhere to run. "High Commander," came a voice over the radio. It was Captain Nick Adams. "Your flagship is surrounded. Surrender now and you will be treated according to the laws of war." Zelthak drew his sidearm. "I will never surrender to humans." But his own crew had heard enough. They were tired of dying for a leader who cared nothing about their lives. One by one, they put down their weapons and stepped away from their stations. "Sir," his second-in-command said quietly, "it is over. We have lost." Human soldiers boarded Zelthak's flagship within the hour. Captain Nick Adams led the boarding party personally. He found the High Commander sitting alone on his bridge, staring at the ruins of his fleet. "You are under arrest for war crimes," Nick told him. including the murder of Ambassador Jake Martinez. Zelthak looked up at the human captain. For the first time in his life, he seemed small and defeated. "How?" he whispered. "How did you know we were coming? How did you prepare so well?" Nick smiled. "Because we have been watching you for 20 years. Every ship you built, every strategy you planned, every word you spoke. We knew this day would come, and we were ready." The war was over. The Vaxarian Empire, which had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years, surrendered completely. Their fleets were destroyed or captured. Their worlds declared independence. Their leaders were arrested or fled into exile. But the end of the fighting was just the beginning of something bigger. President Amy Carter stood before the Galactic Assembly, addressing representatives from hundreds of worlds. "The Empire is gone," she announced. "But we are not here to replace one tyrant with another. We are here to build something better." The trial of Zelthak and other Imperial leaders lasted for months. Evidence was presented showing decades of genocide, slavery, and oppression. The galaxy learned the full truth about Imperial crimes that had been hidden for centuries. Commander Lisa Brooks, now an admiral, was put in charge of establishing the new galactic government. Her job was to help former Imperial worlds transition to freedom and democracy. "It will not be easy," she told her staff. "Many of these worlds have never known anything but Imperial rule. They do not know how to govern themselves. But humans were patient teachers. They helped establish schools and hospitals on liberated worlds. They shared their technology freely. They showed alien populations that government could serve the people instead of oppressing them. Not everyone was happy with the changes. Some aliens resented human leadership, even though it was much kinder than Imperial rule. A few extremist groups tried to restart the war, but they found little support among populations that had experienced human justice. The memorial service for Ambassador Jake Martinez was held 1 year after his death. Representatives from across the galaxy came to honor the man whose murder had started the war that freed them all. President Carter spoke at the ceremony. "Jake Martinez died trying to make peace," she said. "But his death taught us that sometimes you have to fight for peace. Sometimes you have to show bullies that their victims will not stay victims forever." Admiral Roy Jensen was also at the ceremony. He looked older now, tired from the long war. But he was satisfied with what humanity had accomplished. Jake would be proud, he told President Carter after the service. "The galaxy is a better place because he died for it." Carter nodded. "He showed us what we could become. Not conquerors, but protectors. Not rulers, but servants." The new Galactic Federation was different from the old empire in every way. Instead of forcing worlds to obey, it asked them to participate. Instead of taking resources, it shared technology. Instead of crushing differences, it celebrated diversity. Captain Ben Taylor, now an admiral himself, was put in charge of the new Federation Navy. His job was to protect member worlds from pirates and other threats. But the Navy was not an army of conquest like the old Imperial fleet. "We are not here to rule anyone," he told his officers. "We are here to serve. If a world wants to leave the Federation, they can leave. If they want our help, we will help them. The choice is always theirs." Some worlds did choose to remain independent, and humans respected that decision. Others joined the Federation eagerly, happy to be part of something bigger than themselves. Dr. Susan Lay continued her research, but now she was working with alien scientists instead of studying captured technology. Together, they made discoveries that neither species could have achieved alone. "This is what Jake Martinez wanted," she told her research team. "Not humans ruling aliens or aliens ruling humans, but everyone working together." The galaxy was healing from 3,000 years of Imperial oppression. Slowly, carefully, the wounds were closing. Trade routes that had been restricted under the Empire were open to everyone. Scientific knowledge was shared freely. Art and culture flowed between worlds like water. But perhaps the most important change was in the way different species saw each other. Under the Empire, aliens had been taught to fear and hate those who were different. Now they were learning to appreciate diversity as a strength rather than a weakness. On Earth, children grew up learning about the war and its lessons. They studied not just the battles and strategies, but the reasons why the war had been necessary. They learned that freedom was not free, and that sometimes good people had to fight to protect what was right. Admiral Helen Clark, now retired, often spoke to these children about the war. "We did not fight because we wanted to," she would tell them. "We fought because we had to. And we won not because we were stronger, but because we were willing to sacrifice for each other." The galaxy had learned an important lesson about humanity. They had seen humans at their worst, angry and determined to get revenge. But they had also seen humans at their best, willing to die to protect people they had never met, from species they had never seen before. High Commander Zelfak spent the rest of his life in prison, thinking about the war he had started and lost. Sometimes he wondered what would have happened if he had not ordered Jake Martinez's assassination. Would the Empire still exist? Would millions of people still be slaves? But it was too late for such thoughts. The Empire was gone forever, and the galaxy was free. Admiral Roy Jensen stood on the observation deck of his new flagship, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, on thousands of worlds, people were living free lives because of the war. That had started with one man's death. Jake Martinez had died trying to make peace through words. His death had brought peace through strength. It was not the way anyone had wanted it to happen, but it was the way it had to be. The age of empires was over. The age of freedom had begun. And it would never end, because humanity would make sure. Of that. In the darkness of space, the stars shone brighter than ever before. They shone on worlds where children played without fear, where families lived without oppression, where to fear